Hi guys, Luke here of SimBoxx in association with Adrenaline Performance and Clint Patrick. Delighted to be joined by Miss GB, Natasha Jonas. How are we doing, Natasha?
I'm good, thank you. You're right.
Yeah, all good. Thanks. Thanks for giving us some of your time this evening. I've been looking forward to speaking to you, especially after such a great fight with Katie Taylor. Now, some of these fights, when they're hyped up and they're built up in the build up to the fight, saying they're going to be great, they can't disappoint. And this one certainly didn't. There was a lot of hype between yourself and Katie Taylor, 9 years in the making. Joe Gallagher done a lot to promote the fight. Eddie Hearn done a lot to promote the fight, and it really did deliver. First and foremost, have you watched the fight back, or how many times have you watched the fight back?
I've only actually watched it once, just to gauge the scoring for myself. It was really I can never score as I'm in the ring. Like I remember once boxing Alana Murphy it was, and I'd won 21-1 in the ABAs, and I came back to my coach and I was like, "Did I win?" And he was like, "Hey, you messing." I just can't, like, I'm on Sky or on the Zone, wherever, when I'm sitting there and I'm commentating on other people's and I can watch it. I think I'm quite good with the scoring, but when I'm actually in there in the moment, I can just never judge it myself.
So do you kind of go with like a gut feeling at that moment? When you're in the fight, do you get a feeling like, I'm doing all right here, or, I need to step on the gas? What was your feeling throughout that fight with Katie Taylor?
I think on some of the points you can hear what I was thinking. I'm saying to Joe, "Is it this?" And he's saying, "No, it's closer than you think." I think I was like, "Oh, is that?" I think I said, "Is that 5-2 or 5-3 or whatever it was?" And he was like, "No, it's closer than you think."
Yeah, so the official scorecards was 96-95, 96-95, and 96-94. I think I'm correct in saying. So again, it represents just how close of a fight that was. Now, at the end of the fight, obviously coming in off the back of the Terry Harper fight, which was quite controversial, when the announcement of the Katie Taylor result was made, you didn't seem as pissed off, for the want of a better term. At that point, speaking to Joe, you kind of took on board that it was a close fight and you could accept that, a round either way was a fair result.
Yeah, I think, like, I watched it back. When I watched it back and I scored, I was like, maybe I was a little bit unlucky not to get a draw. But I think if I would have got a draw again, I'd have lost it. So in hindsight, I'm kind of, no, I wouldn't say glad, because no one likes to be beat, but it's probably mentally for me a good thing that she won by a round, even though even a round like a kick in the teeth. But yeah.
So when you say, like, you watch the fight back, and a lot of the times, especially on the back of a loss, you kind of look at the fight and think, what did I do wrong? What could you improve on? But what do you believe you done right in that fight, and what made it such an entertaining fight? Because there was a lot of things that you did do right.
Yeah, I think I've always said, even when I beat Harper, I said there's loads more left that I haven't shown, and I know I'm better than that. So Harper was a good stepping stone to kind of let put the world on notice. But really and truly, I knew there was more there, and no disrespect to Terry, but I knew I had to be Terry and better to even compete with Casey. So, everything that I was doing in camp, I was like, right, I have to show this on the day. So I wanted to put my best foot forward. And I said, she put her best foot forward, I put my best foot forward. It's always going to be a good fight, because we're two good boxers.
Yeah, absolutely. So when the fight is that close, and Joe Gallagher's saying that we should see an immediate rematch, which as boxing fans we'd love to see, between yourself and Katie Taylor. But 9 years ago, lost in the Olympics, and you lost by a razor close decision this time around. And I don't want to be negative or sound negative, but is there a worry that Katie Taylor might just have your number and that's as close as it's going to get, or do you believe you can make those improvements and get one back against her in the future?
Yeah, I mean, you're in the wrong game if you're not moving forward and progressing and trying to be better than you was the last time. I think obviously the build up for everybody watching was the whole amateur thing, but we knew as fighters we're not them same boxers. Like, we are 9 years on, we are in a totally different sport. It's not a 4-round sprint. It was going to be, a longer slog. So, like, even though, yeah, that played part of the narrative, we both knew that that wasn't this for us. The pro game was something different. But yeah, I don't hold my breath for matchroom rematches, so we'll see.
Yeah, especially with the drama around the Terry Harper rematch, shall we say. Would you be more hopeful of a rematch with Katie Taylor than you ever will be with getting a rematch with Terry Harper at some point down the line?
I think obviously an injury makes it a bit more difficult now, but as one door closes, another one opens, because then you have the opportunity to be able to fight Choi, because someone's got to fight. She's going to fight someone. And then, you know, once you have got a title, if Terry wants to become undisputed, then she has to fight you. So, you know, it's going to, I think, you know, I wish her a speedy recovery and all that. But she's probably going to be out for a little bit. Maybe we might see it closer to the end of the year. So yeah, and in the meantime, the other champions are going to have to fight somebody. And I think when you're in a position like mine, where you're like you're a big risk for not much reward, then it's easy to kind of be avoided. But you know, you go and win a title, and then it's harder for people to want to avoid you, because then you've got a reward. People want your title. So yeah, hopefully I can get either a rematch for a title or just a shot at a different one. And yeah, different result though, obviously.
Yeah, so you mentioned there Terry Harper. She was due to unify with Choi this Saturday. It would have been May 15th, but she pulled out that fight with an injury. And there was, you know, some social media activity calling for yourself to step in as a late replacement and fight Choi. And you know, I messaged you myself, and you know, I said, "Is there any truth to this? Is there any possibility?" But you know, it was never going to happen on such short notice. But you know, a fight in the future with Choi is, as you say, it would be a good way to a world title, and then it kind of forces the rematch with Terry Harper into the bargain as well.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, like I say, you've got a bit more bargaining tool and power than to for the other champions. But you know, there's a little bit of Twitter spat between Terry and Ellie as well. Bless Ellie. I don't think she meant anything by it. In fact, I know she didn't mean anything by it. I don't know why Terry took such offence to it. I don't know if that's like a little bit of frustration on her behalf or just a little bit of immaturity. But I don't think, you know, Ellie only said what everybody else was saying, but she took offence to because it was Ellie. I don't know why she would do that. But yeah, it is what it is.
You know, when you get to a certain level, you know, you fought Terry Harper, you fought Katie Taylor, two of the very best in the world in their respective divisions. And, you know, when you get to that kind of level, there's not going to be any easy fights, especially if you're looking for a world title. But surely at some point, Natasha Jonas deserves somewhat of an easier fight, you know, back-to-back fight of the year contenders, both against Harper and Taylor, shoo-ins for fight of the year contenders. At some point, are we going to get a bit of an easy touch?
Do you know what? I don't even know if I want one. I think I quite like being the underdog. It makes me perform better, I think. So, yeah, keep putting me in with whoever. Throw McCaskill in, through anyone. But yeah, I think, like you say, I remember Joe said to me, especially with the Harper fight, you know, once you go through this door, meaning once you start challenging at this level, you can't go back. And that's exactly that. You know, that suited me fine, because that was my mentality anyway. I didn't want to go back, because, you know, you're open to, like, no disrespect, but go down to other people's level. And now that I'm at that level and I'm fighting, you know, the best of each weight division, like, I think I've proved that I deserve to be there. So I don't want to go back down now. That's the level I want to stay at, and you know, I'll keep challenging for the titles, and you know, hopefully get a different result.
Yeah, absolutely. So Joe mentioned that, you know, you're looking anywhere between 130 and 140, but you mentioned there Jessica McCaskill, who's the undisputed welterweight champion. Could that mean that we could see you go as high as 147 if the opportunity arose?
I mean, when you say as high as 147, I probably wouldn't be 147. Gosh, yeah, I'd probably walk in. I'd probably get in at like 143, 142. But yeah, I mean, you know, I just think, like, if you got the opportunity to fight for one title, two titles, or the undisputed, why would you turn it down? So,
Kind of ambition is it's good to hear.
yeah, no, I just, like, why? I think I don't think any of them the champions are better than I am. So why not?
So, you know, just going back to the Katie Taylor fight before we move on, there was a lot of clamour online and in, you know, different magazines and publications and everything saying that Katie Taylor versus Natasha Jonas for the undisputed lightweight title should be a main event worthy fight. On the night, it was the fight of the night, you know, by some distance. Did you ever have any kind of wish to be main event? Did you and Katie ever discuss, you know, we should be on main event, or did you just kind of, you know, focus on the fight, business, and then leave everything, all of that to everybody else?
Yeah, no, just the fighting's the business, and everything, you know, everything else is what everybody else deals with. I just got to deal with what happens inside of the ring. Outside of the ring, it's down to my management team and, you know, the promotion team. So to sort something out, I think it was nice to see that the progression in boxing, and especially female boxing, that people had made them nice comments and said. I think within hours of it, the fight being announced, there was like a little, you know, petition, and I remember clicking on it, and there's like, you know, I think it was like 80% of people said it should be main event, and I was like, wow, that shows how far women, and that shows how much people appreciate both fighters. So that was nice to see. But, you know, when Eddie wants a fight of the year contender, or, you know, I don't know, a show saver or whatever it is, he knows who to call.
Absolutely. And of course, being in the matchroom bubble for fight week, did you get the mandatory selfie with Roy Jones Jr. while he was in Manchester?
you like, you know, I'd kick myself if I didn't. I think I must have got about 50, to be honest, every day. But yeah, you know, there was lots of characters in there. Buddy McGirt, Chisora himself. Parker's a little bit more quieter, but they all like, they bounce off with you, that it was good. You know, and some of the quieter ones, like Richards and that, they're all nice guys in the team. Obviously, I know Scott Fitzgerald anyway from the GB days. So yeah, it was just a nice bubble, to be fair. There was lots of different characters, and I I was even, you know, playing pool and stuff with Brian Peters and Katie's mom. So there wasn't no bad feelings. You know, the boxing's just business, like I say.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a name you mentioned there quickly before we move on, Scott Fitzgerald. You knew him from the GB days. Good to see him back in the ring, and, you know, he's overcome some obstacles out of the ring and some demons out of the ring. Good to see him finally back in there and getting a win, and hopefully back into some big fights.
Yeah, you know, I don't think, you know, Scott, like, we know he's had his troubles, and, you know, boxing is the thing that keeps him in check, and, you know, kind of half saves him. So hopefully, you know, we've seen how good he is. I said, obviously, I'd always said Fowler wins, but I was saying, listen, Scott's not going to be any pushover. Scott's a dangerous guy, and he proved that, and he proved himself, and he proved that he deserves to be there. So, you know, the best of Scott Fitzgerald, mentally more than physically, is an absolute nightmare for anyone. So yeah, I hope to see him back in the mix, and, you know, competing for all them titles that people have got, because it's a great division domestically and worldwide.
It really is. But looking at your stablemate at Gallagher's gym last Friday, Liam Smith, he went out to Russia to take on the undefeated Kurbanov, and to say the least, it's been a controversial result. He seemed to win the fight. A lot of people, certainly in the UK, had him winning that fight, and he lost. First and foremost, your reaction to the result and your reaction to his performance in what was a WBO world title eliminator of sorts.
I'm gutted, because there's things in boxing you can control, and you can control how you box, you can control applying tactics, you can control how your camp goes and whatever. You can't control the judges. So, and no matter what happens, and no matter how much of a fuss you make, when the decision's made, it's made, and you can't do nothing about it. So, you know, and we complain a lot about the results here, and like abroad is no different. I think he knew he was going into the lion's den, but he was also confident that he could win, and he should have won. But yeah, you know, we have a cheek to be putting fingers on anyone else's judges before we look at our own.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, again, I don't want to say anything too controversial, and I'm trying to sit on the fence, but he went out to Russia for the opportunity against an undefeated Russian in the Russian guy's hometown. There was a Russian judge, there was a Ukrainian judge, which is on the border with Russia. It was an uphill task from the get-go, really, Tasha, and I'm sure, you know, he went in the mentality of, you know, I've got to get this guy out of there to get a draw.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with Liam, though. Liam is he's like a fighter in every sense of the word. That's Liam's, you know, that's what he loves to do. He loves to be in there. He's not bothered about whose backyard he's going into. He's done it in, you know, America on loads of occasions. He's gone to South America, and just he wherever there's a fight, he'll go because he wants to fight, and that's the beauty of him. He's easy to match because he'll go with anyone, anywhere. So he knew it was a bit of an uphill task, but like I also believe that he believed, and we believed that he did enough. So it's just, you know, like I said, it's more heartbreaking than anything, because, you know, it's so much hard work, and them judges are never accountable for what the decisions that they make. They don't see how it changes people's lives. You know, I win against Harper, I'm all of a sudden on a bigger paycheck. I'm fighting more regularly. I'm probably signed to Matchroom, and I've got free fight deals, and that's a difference to me as a single parent, and my home life and financials and all the other prowess that comes with it. But they don't have to account for that. They just put the number on a paper and that's it. And we're left to suffer the consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very unfortunate side to the sport currently, and it's something that's all too of a common occurrence recently. But touch on Liam Smith. You mentioned yourself there that 154 is such a hot division domestically, and he's kind of in a no man's land at the minute because this was a world title eliminator, so he's not really going to get into that world title scene. But for so long, he's been generally considered the number one domestically at 154. Do you believe he'll get back into the mix with the likes of Fowler, Cheeseman, maybe Fitzgerald in a couple of fights' time? Do you think that's something that you might be interested in, or do you think he'll struggle to motivate himself, given that he's been at the top of the mountain? He is a former world champion.
No, I don't think motivation's a concern for him, but I think until them guys progress to his level, I don't think he will be, unless it's like I don't want to say a warm-up fight because that sounds terrible. They're not the better than warm-up fights, you know what I mean? But unless it's like I've been inactive for so long and I need to get back in the mix kind of fight, then I don't think he goes back down to that level. They will have to go up to his. For me personally, he has proved himself at world level. He's been a world champion, and for him, it's all about getting back into that mix and that scene. And obviously, that was one route, and now that door's been closed, there'll just be another route to try and get somewhere else, whether that with a different, sanctioning body or whatever that is. That he'll find another route. But I don't think unless it's big money or whatever it is that he will be at that level, because I think he's proved he's past that.
You mentioned yourself about the scorecards, and that even domestically we can't, be pointing fingers at somebody else, given how bad it's been in certain fights over in the UK. And I'm sure after the Harper fight, this is a question you must have answered a million times. But what just can be done to resetify the problem? It seems to be wideswept, and it's not only, as you say, like results and that's it. It's impacting people's lives and livelihoods moving forward. And once a result's set in stone, it's not going to be undone. But what do you believe can be done moving forward to stop these fights or these scorecards or these judges' decisions, ref decisions from happening?
I don't know. I honestly don't, because wherever there's a big reward, there's always going to be some form of corruption. It happens amateur and pro level, not just in boxing either. It happens in loads of different things. So accountability is definitely something, but how do you make them accountable when sometimes I don't want to be slating the board, but sometimes we don't even have protection from them. Sometimes it's clear to see, and for people just to say, well, that's how I seen it, that's not good enough, because everybody else saw it a different way. You can't the whole boxing scene, fans, promoters, commentators can't see something one way and you see it another. And if you are seeing it like that, then you're not seeing it right. And as an athlete competing, it's hard to know what do you want, because when I fought Terry, it was like, oh yeah, Tasha threw the more accurate and power shot, but then Terry's pressure was probably what won her a few rounds. So then, okay, yeah, accept that. So then Katie fights Bassoon, and then Katie was landing the hard, most accurate shots, and Bassoon's pressure, she was doing a lot of pressure, but wasn't really landing, wasn't really touching. But Katie wins, okay. So then I fight Katie, then I'm landing the power shots and the harder shots, and she's putting the pressure on, and then she wins. So what do you want? Tell me what you want. Do you know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't, what do you want? There has to be like a common denominator of some sort. I remember in amateur, they used to, obviously still results wouldn't go people's way, but they used to have like a refs meeting, and they would tell each, team leader, coach, whatever, how they would score fights and what they wanted to see. So I don't know if some form of that needs to happen, so we know who our refs are, who and what they like, because that can change how you box. I'm not saying you're going to, you know, I'm not a pursuing type of fighter. So if someone said to me, I like pressure, yeah, I'm going to put the pressure on, but it's going to be a different way than pursuing does, because that's not how I box. But at least then you have a sort of, you know, you have to come up with some form of tactic to be able to do that, or apply that somehow to your game. Because I just think right now it's just people choose what they like depending on who's in the ring, and that's not how boxing should be. You like what you like, and that you should stick with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Tasha, I want to get your opinion on the big super middleweight unification clash that went down in Dallas, Texas. I'm not sure if you heard about it. It was Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders. It might have went a bit under the radar.
That was that weekend.
73,000 fans. First and foremost, how good was it to see such a large crowd back at a big boxing event, and it just give it that extra spice and that extra elevation. It's a big fight anyway when it's Canelo, but this felt like it was on another level.
Yeah, you know, it was good to see, and I can't wait for crowds to be back at ours, to be honest. But yeah, again, that was another one where I had it level, and if you would have said, okay, 5-3, I couldn't have argued, but I had it level at 4-4 and it was a bit of what you liked, and you know, it was just unfortunate. I think Canelo was feeling him out for a couple of rounds and seeing what his reactions were, and then by the later rounds he kind of knew what was going to happen, and he was just waiting and was targeting certain areas. And once he threw the shot, you could see it instantly affected Billy Joe, because I don't want to say he ran away, but he was very, very cautious after that. So yeah, it was just unfortunate. But I thought, you know, again, you know, no one after the Martin Murray performance and performance before that, everyone was like kind of, well, Billy Joe's past his best. And like, I'm not saying I knew or anything, but like, Billy Joe is a nightmare for anyone. Billy Joe at his best is a nightmare for anyone. And not only is he a nightmare for anyone, but trying to get someone in sparring to replicate Billy Joe must be a task in itself. Because who in the world boxes like him when you see when he's confident? Yeah, he doesn't have the power shot that Canelo was throwing or whatever, but he lands, and he's, you know, you can't take that away from him. It's not going to be a concussive one punch knockout, but if he's landing, then he's got to be scoring. He's got to, you know, that wins rounds for me. But whether it's a, you know, big shot or not, if you're landing, you're landing. Full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fight, it came to a conclusion at the end of the 8th round. He was retired on his stool by trainer Matt Tibbs, and he's coming for some sort of criticism, which I think is bizarre given how severe the injury looks. He's actually caved in his orbital bone by the look of it.
You could see, like, when his whole eye was sunk, you could see it. And how anyone, do you know what, to be honest, I think the only reason Billy Joe has come under so much scrutiny for it is because of what he said about Dubois. If he hadn't have said that about Dubois, no one would have said about that. I think, honestly, people have kind of thought, right, because he said this, we're going to jump on it. It's a bit of karma. But, you know, fighters and coaches themselves, and, you know, probably doctors and whoever was there that could see that, probably knows that that was the best thing, because it only takes one more shot and it's, you know, it's career ending, it's life threatening. And we always talk about, you know, brave coaches and brave referees, and they let that shot go on for one more punch. And then when they do make a decision, everyone's quick to jump on the back. But, you know, why do we need people to end their careers in a ring? Why do, you know, there's some fighters that don't make it out. So, you know, I think, you know, I'm one of the ones that are saluting it, because it's, you've got a, you know, split second decision to make. And I know Billy Joe as a fighter would never want to quit or be retired. So, like, but you've got to think about life beyond boxing, because you're a long time retired, and to get out with, you know, your body intact and your brain intact more so, you know, that's the goal. So, you know, I think Tibbs was thinking longevity and to protect his fighter. I know Joe, when I'm in the ring, looks at me like one of his, all of his fighters, as one of his own kids. And would he let his own kid take that punishment? No, you wouldn't. So pull them out.
Yeah, absolutely. So touching on Canelo quickly, he now has 3 of the 4 super middleweight world title. He's looking like some sort of Thanos in boxing, that he's collecting these world titles willy-nilly. He's looking pretty much unstoppable. Do you see anybody out there that's going to trouble him? He's overcome a slip boxer in Saunders. He's overcome size and reach differentials against Callum Smith. Is there anyone out there that can solve the puzzle?
No, like literally no. Every time I think, oh, this one can cause him problems, this one could cause him problems, he comes up with the answer, and that's what great boxers do. For me, he is the pound for pound greatest at the minute, and I struggle to think of anyone that could beat him. Maybe Fury, maybe Joshua, but even then, he is literally, his boxing IQ is so high, and I didn't give him enough credit for his IQ when he fought Callum. But after that fight, I thought, no, you know what you're doing. And obviously, we all know he's as power. We all know how slick he is, and we all know whatever. But we don't sometimes give him credit for how clever he is.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to finish, back with yourself, I know you like to do your punditry work with DAZN and Sky Sports, but what can we expect from Tasha Jonas moving forward? When are you back in the gym, and when would you like to be back out in the ring?
I'm still doing bits just ticking over. Obviously, I've got to look good on TV this weekend, so I'm still in the gym. But I'll be back in the gym properly probably next week. Yeah, but in Gallagher's, we've got kind of this like thing where we're always, keeping yourself in the gym. There's no point in being inactive because you're a long time coming back from that road. So, yeah, I'd like to just kind of tick over. Um, you know, as bad as it is for Harper, it actually could open a pathway for me to go back down to super feather and fight Choi. There's people like Mary McGee, there's Marcelli at 135, there's Mary McGee, as I say, Leonardo too at 140, McCaskill at 147. So I think there's a lot of ways I can go and routes I can take and whatever I can do. So anything to get me that world title, as I say, to use as leverage to maybe get back to them bigger fights and fighting and challenging for bigger and better things. So yeah, I've just got to wait for my management company to come back with the plan. We've sat down, we spoke all last week. We had good team talks, and now we're just going to put a few plans into place and knock on a few doors and see what the answer is.
Exciting times. We look forward to it and to see what's next. But thanks for your time this evening, Natasha, and I'm sure we'll catch up again very soon.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks, Luke.